child, and how do you explain to them what's going on? And do they get to see the final product?
It's a very good question. Something we talked about a lot, and a lot of it depends on the child or the children that you're working with and their parents. And the boy that plays the Marty in the movie, his mom, they're very liberal, which is a good start. And he's extraordinarily precocious. I mean, he was 12 years old when we shot with him, but he taught us some sexual terms that we didn't know, and we're in our late 20s and 30s. So I can honestly tell you there was nothing in this movie that didn't shock him or that he didn't already know, thanks to the interwebs. But that was key. We wanted to make sure that whatever children we worked with weren't going to be damaged by the movie. He's allowed to see his movie. None of his friends are allowed to see his movie yet. And he was not there for the nudity that the brother was involved with either. So we tried to protect him from what we could. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, one other thing I'll add about that is that we were lucky enough to, Scott knew a woman named Sheila Butler who was our casting director for the children specifically. And she knew everybody, all the kids in town that did stage plays. And she knew, which parents were cool with, more,
Risque.
Yeah, that's struggling to find the words here, but anyway, she recommended a few children to us, and we were lucky enough to find Gavin. We really lucked out with him. He was a great guy. So
Yeah, we weren't going to make the movie until we found Marty, and we did.
How many minutes did you cut out of it? And then I have a follow-up question once you answer that, if you don't mind.
The only thing we really cut out of the movie that was shot was an extended version of the racist ranting in the field scene. That was originally just a lot more ugly, and the author had intended for that to sway the audience very much against the brother in case they were for him at any point. And I think that point was made clear, and the author Todd agreed, and so we toned that down just because it was too much for us.
I think it's compelling. You did a great job with even showing the close-ups were very, very compelling, and the showing even his feet while he's walking through the fields, and then the conversation with the dad in the car about the throwing up, and the dad more worried about the car. All of those were just wonderful, and they were very compelling, and they made us, at least they made me, feel a connection to the normalcy of all of these characters in the film. But the fact that you edited one of those topics, because there's so many that it seemed like you were trying to cover, what kind of I thought was odd is that you kept in more than one of your really, really gory things about that film that they watched, and it just seemed to me really unnecessary.
the two separate segments of Headless, to me, the first part is to kind of introduce you to what sort of movie it is, and the second part is to really hit home the fact that Marty is seeing Steve in that role. And because at the end, you don't see any of the violence that happens to mom and dad at the end. And I think that Headless fulfills that, so that you're seeing that in your mind at the end when it's happening with mom and dad. And I feel like that's why we chose to do it that way, and that's why it's effective.
And that's what makes it more disturbing too,
So.
because you guys actually have the pictures in your head of what's going on, even though we don't even have to show you that.
So that's what we were going for, I guess.
Yeah, it did change it a lot. Yesterday I was running around and I missed the video portion, the Headless portion. And, then today I got to, I was able to get here and see the whole thing, and it changed everything in the movie after that. It changed the entire ending, because of the imagery that was there.
How much of the author's original story did you change for the movie?
I don't think we changed very much. The author and most people that read the book think it's an extremely faithful adaptation. The only major thing is that we added the gas mask visual element, because in the book he doesn't wear a mask.
And the other thing that was changed is that the church picnic scene was actually supposed to be in a church, but we could not find a church that would let us shoot there. So that's why we put it outside.
Well, the Universalists really tried, man.
Yeah.
They gave us a long list of other options. They
Yeah.
really
They were
tried
really
to help
sweet.
us out, just short of letting us shoot there.
And do you think the David character was killed?
Nah.
Mm.
Yeah, it takes place over like a 3-day period. So I don't think that Steve had time to kill David quite yet.
Maybe that's where he was heading off to.
Yeah, you never know.
Will there be a follow-up, a
I
series,
hope
anything?
Absolutely.
I mean, as critical as I am, I actually think it's very compelling. I would love to see more.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. But I mean, I think the audience is, at least I am, more curious as to where that could go.
I think if this continued, it would be a lot like the movie Maniac, with seeing how Marty or Steve would evolve into that character.
Right.
But unless Todd writes a compelling sequel, I'm not planning on shooting one.
I think we should do Death Rattlers. You know, guy goes to a motel and screws zombie chicks.
Yeah, that's actually a short story. That's actually a short story written by Todd. And somebody actually said that they felt like this was almost a prelude to Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer. Like Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer would have been the sequel to this movie. So I don't know, just like a reviewer said that. So.
Oh, I have to ask, the actor that had the male nudity role, was he comfortable with that?
Arthur, the main special effects guy, actually tucked him and taped him down.
Well, he tucked himself.
Okay. And well, it actually was the prosthetic, and then it was hooked up into a wire that was actually pulled up behind him and taped up to his back. But the power went out at the apartment when we were shooting.
All over town, actually. We were shooting that scene and our actor's covered in blood and he's got this fake penis on and nothing else really. And he comes around the corner and boom, power goes out all over town and none of us can see.
So here he is
and
coming
also
with
the penis kept falling off. And you'd hear a thump. Because the wire was duct taped to the small of his back, he couldn't bend over. So one of the most pitiful images I've ever seen is poor Ethan bending over to try and pick up his penis. And we asked him, even before he did his monologue, we were like, this will involve some male nudity, we're not going to show you, but we're going to see an awful lot of you. So you need to be comfortable with that. And he talked with his dad and his mom about it, and I thought we lost him at that point because what parents would, be totally okay, yeah, do that. But thank God they trusted us and they were happy with how it turned out.
He was a wonderful, wonderful find because he went through the script extensively. Like he said, he had his dad read it and make sure that it was something that he wanted to do. He came to meet with us with 2 pages of notes about the character and what he should do to what the character meant to him. So it really showed us that he cared about the subject matter and about what the movie was saying. So it was pretty cool.
Very smart, conscientious young man.
Yes, he is. And a very talented stage actor. He's done a lot of musical theater, believe it or not. So
He was playing a duck
yeah.
at the same time he was doing Found
In a
for Click
children's
Clack
show.
Clack Moo.
Yeah.
Do you expect to find distribution, like wide distribution, or?
Well, because of the extreme content, to be quite honest, we will get distribution. We've got a sales agent and we've got several distributors already contacting us. So we're just kind of holding out for the best possible deals at this point. I would be lying if I said we don't start with the exploitation element sometimes and then retro-engineer to try and earn those things. I don't find much merit in just giving people splatter and gore for the sake of splatter and gore. Yes, they're a marketing hook. Yes, you are going to draw a vast audience in by just showing them blood and gore in a trailer or on a poster. But at the end of the day, is that all you want to give people? We wanted to try and give people more than that. One of the things we said throughout production was we want to earn those moments.
This
So
isn't
hopefully
going
we
to
did.
be forgettable.
Do you think that it would actually be played on TV or anything
No,
like
wow.
that? I mean, it seems like the
Only a niche audience. The horror market is the only market that we're interested in. And I was really concerned that it wouldn't be horrific enough for them because, they like Saw and a bunch of stuff. And we're not, I mean, I kind of like slasher movies. They're like
I think they're telling us
candy.
it's time to go.
But, nah.
The lights go on, we hear a thump.
Do we have time for maybe one last question?
Yeah, it was 30 days of shooting spread out over 8 months because we all have full-time jobs and the boy was in school and stuff. So
Right.
so it took a long time. And then about another 5 months after that for post-production.
And the other thing that happened, we shot Deep Dwellers and Headless like in May, and basically showed it to the rest of the cast and stuff before we shot the rest of the movie. And we had a different Steve, and The other Steve had to quit. His parents were going to disown him. All these stories came up that he just couldn't do it. So then we had to wait like an extra 2 months, and then we found Ethan, and so we started again. August? Something like that. We started again in August, shot till December, and then he edited it from January to July.
Okay.
And then we showed it first time for Elvira's Horror Hunt in July. Was it? No, it was August.
That was September.
Does
September?
32 actual days of filming spread out over 7 months?
Do you have a question back there?
I was just wondering what state was this shot in?
Indiana. That's where we're from.
Yeah, Bloomington, Indiana.
It was all over the state, though. Do you have a question?
Oh no, I went to IU, that's why I went like that.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Can you maybe tell me a little bit about the train scene or the museum? Did you guys like build that, or was that
No.
really there?
That's actually a place that's pretty nearby where we live, and it's this crazy old couple that are really cool, and they built this train museum on their property, and they open it up every Halloween for a haunted house. It's called the Haunted Train. And went over there, and I'd always loved the place, and went over there and asked them if we could film, and they let us film there for free. They're really
that's
nice people,
fantastic.
so it really helped with our
It's
production
in
value.
Bloomington.
Very awesome.
Yeah, they're if you ever get a chance, if you're
Baker's
ever near
Junction.
Bloomington,
Yeah.
please go by there. It's worth a visit. The guy has his finger on display for sale. Like it got cut off, and he has it for sale for like $10,000. It's amazing. It's hilarious. So anyway, it's like a keychain. I don't know.
The baby in the jar is not real. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
That was one of the makeup effects.
Well, thank you guys so much for
Yes,
coming to
thank
see
you.
our movie.
Thank
We
you so
really
much.
appreciate it.
If you get the opportunity, please, with today's media and the whole media sharing and stuff, go to foundmovie.net. You can find our Facebook page, you can find our Twitter, you can find our anything, videos, reviews. Please write us, rate us. Just give us comments, let people know. I mean, it's you guys that are going to make the distributors want us more. And that's what we're hoping for, is for as many people as possible to let them know that we gave you guys something good. So thank you very much.
How do you pick a child and how do you explain to them what's going on? And do they get to see the final product?
It's a very good question. Something we talked about a lot, and a lot of it depends on the child or the children that you're working with and their parents. And the boy that plays the
Butler, who was our casting director for the children specifically, and she knew everybody, all the kids in town that did stage plays, and she knew which parents were cool with more
Risque.
yeah, that's struggling to find the words here, but anyway, she
I can honestly tell you there was nothing in this movie that didn't shock him or that he didn't already know, thanks to the interwebs. But that was key. We wanted to make sure that whatever children we worked with weren't going to be damaged by the movie. He's allowed to see his movie. None of his friends are allowed to see his movie yet. And he was not there for the nudity that the brother was involved with either. So we tried to protect him from what we could. But does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess.
Well, one other thing I'll add about that is that we were lucky enough to, Scott knew a woman named Sheila.
Marty in the movie, his mom, they're very liberal, which is a good start. And he's extraordinarily precocious. I mean, he was 12 years old when we shot with him, but he taught us some sexual terms that we didn't know, and we're in our late 20s and 30s. So